You're the Florida version of Sex in the City, JD.
That's when I was smoking my cigars.
Never stop chasing your dreams.
And never say never.
Don't be an asshole today.
Welcome to the Rainbow Remix. We are so excited for our first episode for 2025. We wrapped up 2024 with our 200th episode, and we are excited to start on the next 200. Unfortunately, Denise cannot be here for episode 201 because she's traveling back to the UK after visiting her family here in Florida. So I will be flying solo as I welcome our very first guest for 2025, Michelle Diaz, the artistic director at the fabulous Arts Garage in Delray Beach, Florida. Welcome to the Rainbow Remix. You are our very first guest for 2025 episode 201. So welcome. Nice. So happy to finally have you on. I got a chance to see your show at Arts Garage, All the Colors of the Rainbow, Delray Stories, which was just such an amazing experience. But I want to just introduce you to the audience. You are the artistic director at the Arts Garage, as well as directing in general. You direct plays and shows in general, and you're a teacher, correct?
Yes. I kind of wear a few different hats here at Arts Garage. When I first started working here about 7 years ago now, I initially came on to help curate a summer camp for kids. So it was like a theater camp. And so I was brought on to create the curriculum and create the summer camp. And that ended up going really well. So then I was asked to create a class for adults.
Yeah.
So then I was teaching an adult acting class, which was super fun. And I've been doing that ever since. And I have kind of like a following of these adults that keep coming back. So I keep having to change the class. You know, it's like kind of morphed into sort of like acting 101 to acting 103. And then now we're just kind of like, you know, just trying out a bunch of different things. And then for a while I was doing that just kind of part-time. And then I was asked to create a theater season and ended up just kind of growing with Arts Garage. And now I have an official title, artistic director of theater. So pretty much anything that encompasses theater here at Arts Garage is under my direction. So I don't deal with the music and the visual arts side. I just deal with all theater stuff.
That is so amazing. First of all, I love the Arts Garage. I play there at least twice a year, usually, and it is the best place I have ever gotten to play. And so many artists have said that, so many musicians, even the ones that tour nationally, there's just something so special about the Arts Garage. And as the performing artist, you get treated truly like a star. I mean, it's
you are a star here. You're like famous down here.
Thank you. You know, Suzanne is always so gracious, and if I'm in the audience, because I go to see so many shows there. I love that as a venue as well, to go and see shows. And she always announces that I'm there, which is really, really cool and nice. And so I just genuinely mean that when I say that. But I got the opportunity to see Delray Stories, All the Colors of the Rainbow, as I mentioned before. And I love the concept. I personally have never seen that concept before. And I don't know, is it usually when you do the format where there are actors reading the story of people, the real people, that it's their story, are they in the audience? Are they usually there? Because that had to be an unusual experience. I said to Ronnie and Charlie, like, I asked them, how did that feel? Is that the norm for that kind of a show?
Well, I've seen shows where it's kind of more considered storytelling. Kind of, I don't know if you're familiar with The Moth on NPR, but it's like a storytelling platform where people will work on creating their own story, and then they perform it themselves.
Okay.
So I've seen that happen, but I thought it would be cool because there are a lot of people who have amazing stories and have no desire to stand up on stage and actually deliver them themselves.
Right,
I
right.
thought I thought it could be really cool to make it a little bit more theatrical and
Mhm.
not so much just someone telling their story, but maybe add a little music, add a little staging if possible, and make it a little creative and have actors perform their story. And so I thought this would be a good way also to build our audience because uh, as you know, Arts Garage has a huge music following, but the theater following is a little smaller because
Mhm.
we're still kind of new and we're building it. So so I thought it would be really cool for the writers to bring their friends and family, and then the actors are local, so they bring their friends and family, and it just kind of builds this community. And so I thought, okay, Delray Beach is like a small city, but there's so many diverse populations here. It's like a microcosm of the country.
Oh, yeah.
We've
Yeah.
got people from the Northeast. We've got so many people that have retired here. We have people in recovery. We have young families. We have the African American community, Haitian American community, a Latin American community, and it's also a very, very gay friendly town. You
Mhm.
know, so um, so the first year that we did this, we started with seniors. So we celebrated the senior community, and that went so well. We decided to make it an annual thing.
Mhm.
So Delray Stories, we're going to go into our third year now. The second one was the one you saw, the LGBTQ community, and then the third one is going to be celebrating our veterans.
Oh,
So yeah, so basically what happens is I invite the community to submit their stories. So they can either write them, they can record them. Um, for special people, I will even come and interview them and transcribe what they said to me and create
yeah.
a monologue out of it, which is what I did for Charlotte.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so then what I do is I try to make an evening out of it. So it's not just the stories, but also maybe a short play or maybe a reading of a longer play, or we'll add on like some other special sort of thing to make it more of a theater experience.
Yeah.
um, and so for this time around we had a couple of short plays, and when we did the senior event we had a longer, just one play and like six stories. So it's a little bit different each time, but the thing that it stays the same is that a handful of the stories are true. They are written by people in the community, and they're performed by local actors in the community, who are professional and have been trained. And we keep it as a reading because I found that when they become memorized and it becomes more of a traditional theater play, um, it kind of loses the spontaneity of as if you were hearing the story for the first time.
Right.
So
Yes.
the actors get
Yeah.
used to doing it a certain way, right? And
Yeah.
they memorize it a certain way, and they get used to acting it a certain way. And um, so I kind of like keeping it fresh and keeping it, like a spontaneous sort of vibe. Um,
Yeah, because
and
the
yeah,
actors don't meet the people they're reading
no,
their stories ahead of time. You're the one
right.
who interviews. And then so you interview the individuals who it's their story, and then you write the monologue, or you write
It's a
the story you're reading?
yeah. So it varies. Either I interview them and create the monologue based on what they said in the interview, or they submit the actual writing of it, and I'll just kind of edit it a little bit to streamline things and just clarify things. Or they'll send me like a video
Mhm.
of them telling the story, and then I transcribe it. Um, And yeah, so it's kind of a mix of things.
Yeah.
Um,
And it was
and
so
everybody kind of has their own way of feeling comfortable telling their story. Some people would rather write and not be face to face. Some people would rather be interviewed,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So I just kind of go with the flow and
It
work.
was so beautifully done. Like the only people whose story I knew was Charlotte, Ronnie and Charlotte's story.
Mhm.
And the woman that played her, because I know Charlie, it was just really so much like her, like if she were the person, and she even said that too. So that's just such a great concept and something different that the Arts Garage normally does, because I would say like probably 80% would be musical
Yeah,
act, do you think?
yeah.
And as your job as the artistic director, do you bring uh you're doing other types of shows besides the Delray stories, right? You
Yeah.
were earlier.
Yeah, so it's not a traditional theater season because like you said it's not a traditional theater. It's a multi-arts venue, and because music is kind of the main draw, um I have found that we can't really have a traditional type of a theater play, because usually with theater there's a run, right, where they do the same show for like 4 weeks,
Right,
and
right.
you can see it um, any of those days. But we can't really do that because we have music one night and theater another night, and so it's one theater. It's not like we can create a set and have a show for 4 weeks.
Yeah, you
It has to be flexible. So what we end up doing is like a one night only type thing where we'll bring in something that's on tour or something that's easily brought in just for one night, something with a minimal set.
yeah,
Like smaller 1 or 2 person shows. And so we've done that where we've had shows come from different parts of the country just to do the one show. And then the Delray Stories is kind of done in house. And then usually there's a third or fourth show that we'll bring in, and we try to just vary the topic to kind of go along with something in the calendar, like Black History Month, or you know there was one time we had something for Mental Health Awareness Week. So we try to just kind of vary the topics, vary the timing, and spread it out, because we can't do a traditional theater
right,
season.
yeah,
So we
yeah,
just have like maybe 3 or 4 shows that we throw into the calendar. And it is constantly evolving because we're still kind of new, um, as far as having theater offering here at Arts Garage. So
yeah,
so we're
yes,
trying, we're just trying to add as much as we can within the limitations of not really being able to have something for more than one night. So
right,
um
because you're not putting up sets and setting something
exactly.
that's going to be there for a couple of weeks, or
Right.
but what a great like this job, being the artistic director, probably gives you so much freedom. Does it give you a lot of freedom to try different things, because the Arts Garage is not a typical venue um for
Yeah, I mean it's kind of
a play?
forcing it forces me to think outside of the box, and like how I can bring in something that's not already being done,
Hmm.
first of all, in our community, or being offered at the other theaters, but also something that's unique to the actual people that live here to make them
Yeah.
want to come.
Hmm.
And then it also forces me to think about, okay, what are the things that I would have liked to see as an audience member, or even as a performer when I used to perform.
Yeah.
Um, and the beauty of this space is that it is so flexible, and there is a lot of stuff you can do, but there's also a smaller space, the black box, which I'm in right now,
Uh-huh.
um, is right next to the main theater. And this is a cool spot because it's smaller, but but we can really do whatever we want in here, and we offer a lot of the classes and stuff in here, but there's something new that we are going to bring to this space, which I haven't announced yet because we're still in the planning stages, but we're hoping to have like a theater in residence type thing in this space where
Oh,
we can have a longer run and we can have a set, but it's got to be kind of on the off nights, like when we don't have music shows. So we'll have a couple of matinees, we'll have maybe a Thursday night show,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's not like not the prime Friday night, Saturday night, but at least we'll have something that will be offered in those off nights, maybe cheaper, and some more kind of indie style theater.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so so that's exciting. We're working toward that.
Yeah, I'm thinking like an off-Broadway Greenwich
Yeah,
Village type of smaller theater type of feel. That's
exactly.
exciting. I'm as a person that also as a patron of the Arts Garage, I'm looking forward to seeing what new shows you bring because like I said, Delray Stories was really awesome. And you are a Delray resident, right? You have your wife and your son. Did you
Yep,
just
yep.
did you live there for a while? I forget because I think Suzanne mentioned that you were either new to
I've
the area or have you
Yeah,
lived there a
we're
while?
new-ish at this point. We've been here for almost 8 years. So before that, I'm originally from Miami, and my partner Terry is originally from here, from Delray. And so we met in New York, and it was just
Oh,
kind of by coincidence that we're both from South Florida. And so when we met, we were both living out in New York at the time. We would come vacation and see our families, for the holidays and stuff. And then every time we came to Delray, I was just like always like, oh, I like it so much better here than Miami. Because every time we go to Miami, it was like traffic and
oh yeah, it's
it's
definitely
just
more laid back.
it's gotten wild. It's gotten wild. So when we came to Delray, it was like it felt like a vacation. It was just kind of like fun. There's so many food options and all of that, but then the beach is right there. So, you know, um, we knew at some point that we were going to have a family and we were going to want to be closer to family.
Yeah,
And we didn't know if that was going to be Delray or Miami or somewhere in between. Um, but then Terry, my partner's mom, got sick. And we were like, okay, well, that answers our question. That's where we're going.
yeah,
And
yeah,
our son was 3 when we moved here at the time. Um, so he's basically grown up here in Delray at this point. He's 12, and and we were closer to my side of the family, just a short drive, but also my partner's mom, who really needed
yeah.
our our attention at the time.
Where did you live when you lived in New York? Was it in the city?
Yeah, so when I first moved to New York, I lived in Queens, but then I moved into the city. I lived in the Village.
Oh, that is so
Yeah,
cool. I grew
yeah.
up in Long Island, as you probably can tell from my southern accent. Um, and when I grew up there, it was the 70s, and the city was not the safest place to be.
Hmm.
Plus, being a Long Island suburbs girl, you were always like, oh, you're going into the city like it was like a big deal, like it was make sure you put your, don't wear your finest jewelry and hold your purse a
Hmm.
certain way and whatever, but it's much better now, going into the city. But I always wondered what that would be like, especially then after I got older and I was a person in the arts, being a musician,
Hmm.
I always wondered that has to be like the coolest, like to live, especially where you lived in the heart of where everything's happening.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
in
a
the
rat
beginning,
race though, right? I mean, it's a
it's a
fast
rat
paced
race, yeah. Yeah,
life.
well, I had a lot of energy and I was in my early 20s and
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
graduating. I had just graduated from a performing arts school and I moved there with like 3 other friends. So we were all kind of pumped and psyching each
Yeah,
other up.
right. Yeah.
So we had each other, um, and we had so much fun. And then when I met my partner, that's when I moved into the city and lived in the village with
Oh,
her. And it was such a different experience to be there versus
right.
just even just like half an hour away
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Queens. But it was so different to be able to just walk out your door and be in the midst of that world.
yeah,
It was a lot, but it was something that I would never trade. It was hard because, as you know, New York is extremely expensive, um, and as an artist, you're just basically making money wherever you can make money, and trying to do your art at the same time. So even though it was a struggle, it was still kind of um, just a fun time, and just a time where I felt like I was really getting to know myself, and getting to
yeah.
know what kind of work I wanted to do, seeing amazing theater companies and seeing new work pop up. I remember I saw the very first um, uh, what's the name of that play? I remember when Urinetown was still like in development and saw a showcase of it. But there was Hedwig.
Yeah.
Hedwig in the Angry Inch, I think. Hedwig in
Uh-huh.
the Angry Inch. I
Uh-huh.
remember seeing that like when it was still off Broadway, and
Oh,
so there were just like exciting, cool things happening all around,
what a
and
great time to go, to be there, like to be young and in the
yeah,
business and seeing new things come up, go from off
yeah.
Broadway to Broadway and
Yeah, and and you don't know what the future is going to bring. You're just kind of
right,
like living day to day and
right,
just trying to, survive. And so
exactly. Yeah. We
yeah,
just
so
went
there.
back in February. I don't often get a chance to go back to New York in general, and we had a family wedding in Jersey. So I went with my sister and my niece, and we stayed in Times Square, which
Oh,
was like
wow.
a culture shock for me because I'm such a germ freak, and I've gotten used to being a burbs girl, even though I want to be a city person. And man, like the first day we get there, we went to Walgreens, right? And I got some things for the room, right? So I needed like my Cokes and my snacks and whatever. And they
Mhm,
have paper bags there, which is new to me. Like they don't have plastic in the city anymore. So
mhm,
I have the two things and I have my scarf and my gloves. And because it was cold, it was February. And for us, it was even worse because we're not used to it. And we're walking under one of those overpass, like the scaffolds, and
uh-huh.
both bags break and everything comes
Oh,
out
good.
into this unidentifiable puddle.
Ugh.
And I'm like, well, we're under a thing. So even if it were raining and it wasn't raining, what is this puddle? Come to find out, my niece's brother that lives in the city, he lives in the city. He's like, oh, we call that street juice. And when I went down to get my stuff, my my scarf, the only scarf I brought falls into the puddle.
Oh, no.
And my hat, right? So now I don't have a hat. I lost my scarf, and I have to get these things. I went back into the Walgreens. Like, can I please buy that these plastic shopping bags you could buy, right? So I'm like, for the
Right.
love of God, I just need something that's not paper. And couldn't wear the scarf for the rest of the trip because I'm like, I have no idea what's in this puddle. I got a
Oh, no.
different hat, right, from one of the people on the street corners. And then I go to him, could I get one in a bag? And he goes, sure. Because he had them just like out on the floor, right? And he goes, and he gets another one and takes it out of the bag and puts that one in a bag and hands it to me. And I'm thinking, that's not what I meant, but I was told. But I put the hat on, and now we were going to MoMA, right? We were
Mhm.
trying to catch that before it closed because we were going to see a play that night. And so I was freezing, right? So I have my gloves. Now I don't have the scarf anymore, but I have a new hat and my head is itching. And now I'm like, I probably got lice from that hat because it was on the floor and I wasn't in a bag. It wasn't fresh. And when I go to like check out the hat, I lose one of my gloves. And I was like done. I didn't have a hat now because I don't want to wear the itchy hat. It was made out of wool, it turned out to be. That's why it was itchy.
Yeah.
But anyway, we went to see that was my experience with street juice, but we went to see uh, uh
One thing after another.
yeah, it was just one. I like it could have been like a sitcom of the person that's out of a fish out of water going
Yeah.
wants to be. I so wanted to be that city person. That was the thing, like the Sex in the City. And I keep telling my sister, where is the part of the city that the people from Sex in the City used to go to? This does not look like it. Because most of the
It's
time,
not Times Square,
we're
I
in
can tell
Times
you that.
Square. Now I know the difference, but we went to see the play Kimberly Akimbo.
Oh,
You
okay.
familiar with that play? Kimberly
Yeah,
Akimbo?
I have heard a lot about it. Yeah, but I haven't seen it.
So good. And it was the last week of the run.
Oh, wow.
And I got the T-shirt, and it was just, I'm so glad we saw that play. My niece and my sister went to get the tickets that morning, and they recommended that, right? The girl from my sister's here in the office. The girl from the box office recommended that, right?
Yeah, when we were standing online.
Yeah.
Tell you about
Because they hadn't heard of it. And then, but a lot of people in theater know that play. And
Yeah.
so when we were in the audience, we noticed, which is probably something that's common if you live in the city, that you see actors, like famous
Oh, yeah.
actors, just in with the people. So we're
Mhm.
sitting and waiting for the play to start. Do you remember the show This Is Us? Did you watch the show This
Mhm.
Is Us?
Yep.
Remember Toby? I can't think
Yep.
of his name, Christopher. I can't think of his name. He was there in the audience, and we're like,
Oh, that's so cool.
and I said, I thought that was him, because you're not used to seeing stars, so you think it might be somebody that looks like them, but it was him.
Right.
And
Man, I can't tell you how many times I would like walk around and just spot people in the street, just like
yeah,
walking to wherever, or even in restaurants, or my all-time favorite actress, which is pretty common. Everybody uh, would probably agree that Meryl Streep is the best actress
yeah,
ever.
yeah, good, yeah.
um, so one time I was leaving Barnes and Noble, and she was coming out, and she was wearing a hat, and I was like, oh, I know that profile anywhere, and and so I was like, we came out around the same time, and then we were like walking in the same direction, and um and then I was like, I'm gonna be a stalker now because I know where she lives. I saw her go
Oh,
into her apartment building in the Village because we were, I guess, living in the same neighborhood.
oh,
And
wow.
but of course she lived in a really nice building. and and so I was just like, I really cannot believe that I know where Meryl Streep lives. I was like
Yeah.
so um
She was just
excited about it.
walking around as one of the
She was just
people
walking home from the bookstore.
by herself, no
Yeah.
bodyguard,
No.
no anybody else.
No.
Wow. And it's
Yeah.
not cool, like, if you're you and you live there and you're in the business, it's not cool to, like, rush up to the person and say, "Oh my god, are you Meryl
No.
Streep?" You don't do that, right? You
No.
play it cool.
No. Yeah, I have to play it cool, but also you never know, like, what the future will bring. Like, what if, you end up, like, working with that person or something, and you're like,
Right, exactly,
I
exactly.
hope they don't remember that I was that crazy stalker." But but no, no, I didn't do anything with the information. I would never have have done anything shady. I
Oh,
just
right,
felt
right. Probably
I
the
kept it to
paparazzi
myself.
the paparazzi probably already know where she lives, right? But it's
Yeah, yeah.
hard to tell, like,
Yeah,
other people,
probably.
like your friends, but yeah, I get that. My niece is a journalist, and she does, Miami. She's worked a lot in Miami, and basically it's the same thing. Like, has
Mm.
met almost everyone in the music and fashion industry, but even in television and movies, depending on who she was interviewing, and it's just not cool to, rush them, but she has a way, like she will approach people. Billy Joel was in West Palm Beach with
Mm,
Kevin James. They were having
okay.
lunch, and she will walk over to them, but she doesn't walk over to them in like, a crazy fan kind of a way, and
Right, right.
she has interviewed people like Liza Minnelli. We
Uh-huh.
went to this, Liza Minnelli played at, I think I want to say it was the Broward Center. There was some, or maybe it was in Miami. It might, where were we? I think it was the Broward Center. Gosh, I don't remember where it was. No, it was the one by the Sawgrass. What is that? The Panthers played there. BB&T. Was it BB
Okay.
Center?
Hmm.
They had a section there. I don't think it's there anymore, where they would do like smaller concerts, and they would just make they would section off a part of um the auditorium, the stadium, or whatever you would call that, and they would make it intimate, and they had, like, Liza played a show there, and it
Mm.
wasn't like the huge one. It was like they had like a pretty chandelier. Anyway, there was a meet and greet afterwards. So we think we're all on going to meet her because my niece Joni, name is Joni, had, she was going to meet her with her friend who's a longtime journalist, very seasoned in the business. She writes for every like magazine. So anyway, after the show, we weren't on the list, my sister and I. We did not get to go in the elevator to go up to see Liza and the people she was hanging out with. Paul Sorvino was up there. His daughter was up there, Mia Sorvino.
Mhm.
I guess
Mhm.
her husband is a rock star. Anyway, we get booted out of the entire place. Like, we don't even know where to go because there's my niece and she's sending us pictures. Her and Liza, she's got her arm around her there. She's partying with all these people. She felt so bad, but she just couldn't get us up there because we weren't officially on the list.
Right. How
Um,
funny.
and Mia Sorvino left. Where my sister and I ended up waiting was kind of the back of the building. Just we told her we're in the back, like when it's time, like the stray cats, when it's time for you to come out. And I knew she was someone. I didn't recognize her right away, but she had a baby she was holding a baby and her husband, and they got into this Hummer limo. But when people, when you see the stars, I guess the point I'm making, they have a presence about them
Mm.
that you just know there's somebody, and I didn't know who she was at the time, and I said to my sister, she's got to be somebody. Who is that person? And they just quietly walked out of the back of the building. There was no one there. It wasn't fanfare, and
Mhm.
they got in the limo and they left. But I guess they have to kind of pick and choose how they do that, no matter where they are, even if it's Florida. Um,
Yeah.
in
Yeah, it's true, but I think, places like LA and New York, because we lived in LA too for a little bit. But it's when, you're in the place where the majority of them live and work and all of that, you're bound to run into them. And
right.
I think that at some point the other people, us regular civilians just kind of get used to the fact that they're there, and people don't um like freak out and make them feel uncomfortable as much, because I mean, I used to see people even like on the subway and stuff, and
Oh, I bet,
um
right? And then
you
they
know
very downplayed, right? Like they're just
yeah,
wearing regular clothes, maybe no
yeah,
makeup for women.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well,
And I remember actually in LA, I was doing a yoga class and I was pregnant. It was like a prenatal yoga class, and
uh-huh.
Drew Barrymore was in the class with me.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and it was funny because right after the class, she and I were going out into the parking lot, and there were paparazzi, like maybe not a whole bunch, but like 2 or 3 photographers
Mhm.
outside in the parking lot waiting for her to come out. And she was like, "Do you mind if I just kind of hide behind you a little bit and walk with you?" And I was like, "No, please."
Oh
um,
my God. I would have totally been like, up, the paparazzi is here again for me. Could I?
yeah, I was
Well,
like shielding her from them, which was pretty cool.
that was pretty cool. That's a cool
Yeah,
experience. One time
yeah.
I got stopped when I first started playing music. I was so excited. Like, Um, I had my friend and I, we had a duo, right? And we went by the Gold Rush Girls. We played country music. And so I got stopped for speeding. I got stopped by a cop, right? And I had my guitar on the back seat, and he's like, "Oh, what is that, a guitar?" And I said, "Yeah." And now I'm trying to talk myself out of the ticket because he didn't start writing yet, right? So I'm like, "Oh, yeah." I go, "I play in a duo down here, a country, two-girl country duo. Maybe you heard of us, the Gold Rush Girls." And then he's like, I'm like, "JD Danner?" And he's like, I think he felt so sorry for me that he had never heard of me. I was dying for him to say, "Oh my
It's
God,
so
that's you."
funny.
Anyway, I got the ticket and he never heard of me. That was the story.
Don't you
Um,
know who I am?
right? Isn't that funny? They don't want that. And then the regular people like us.
Yeah.
But I wanted to circle back to something. Your son is like the
Mhm.
coolest kid. He wants to do sound and lights, or does he want to do directing as well? Or he wants to be in the business, right?
Well, he's an interesting soul, I guess. He um he is interested in anything where he gets to like press buttons and work with electronics and machines of any kind. So when he started coming to Arts Garage with me, it was when I was doing the summer camps, but he never wanted to perform. He never wanted to do any acting. It kind of like freaked him out. He didn't like the attention. Um, and so I would get him to do stuff to busy himself because if not, he would be driving me nuts the whole time. So I would say, "Can you do this and that and this and that?" And he ended up being like my helper, and everybody was calling him my helper. And he loved that feeling of feeling like he wasn't one of the kids. He was important. He was like one of the workers.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and so he has spent a lot of time here, and I think he feels like he wants to be involved whenever we do shows. So I give him jobs. And one of those jobs that I've given him is to video the shows because um, we like to have an archive, obviously, of the shows that we do. So we videotape them. And it's a really nice camera. So he had to learn how to use it and everything.
yeah,
But he
yeah,
loved that I was giving him that responsibility. And that was kind of recent because, before that, his videos were like, shaky. And, but now, he's done it enough where he does a pretty good job. And he, in the meantime, has made friends with Noah, the technical director
yeah,
here. So
yeah,
Noah has shown him all about the lights and how they work and the sound system and how it works. And he loves that too. So now, when we're in the black box, it's not the main theater, but in the black box, he can play around with the lights and he can do whatever with the lights in here. And so he really enjoys it. I think that he has a good eye for
mhm,
it. So he enjoys the technical side of theater. He enjoys all the backstage kind of stuff. And even the actors will be like, "Hey, can you grab me this? And can you grab me that?" And I just kind of leave him alone and let him
uh,
be like a stage hand. Um, so he really likes it. He likes feeling like the independence and the like that sense of doing something that a normal kid his age wouldn't be doing here.
yeah.
So he's kind of like an employee at this point.
He's got the look. I mean, he definitely looks like he's doing something in the arts. Like he does not look
Yeah,
like a regular. Is he 12? Did you
he's
say
12.
he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
look like a regular 12. 12-year-old. He definitely looks like he's doing something in theater, something in the arts, like a cool rock star kid
Yeah.
of a, look. And I just think that's so awesome that he's involved in this and, he's involved in his mom's work.
Yeah.
Is your wife also does she do anything in the art
No, no,
theater?
not no. She's actually a psychologist. She does
Oh,
therapy. She gives therapy
oh,
and And when we first met, she was working at ASCAP, which I don't know if you know of. It's like a music.
Yes, I'm a
Um,
member of ASCAP.
oh, okay. So then you know
Yes, yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. So she used to work at ASCAP in New York, and
Wow, that's
so
exciting.
yeah. So it was really cool because we used to also get tickets to cool shows and meet artists and stuff like that. And um so she was kind of in the music industry, but then she transitioned out of that and she went back to school to become a therapist, which um, is a really good fit for her. And over the years, she's helped a lot of people, and she works a lot with the LGBTQ community, with teens, and also couples, and especially couples who are trying to have kids.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so she's
so
done
necessary.
a lot of really rewarding, important stuff. And but no, she's definitely not a performer, and she likes to be in the audience and not be singled out.
I think that's probably for the best. Like I meet people when we have people are in the arts on the show. I always ask that question because I was, for the most part, not with anyone who was remotely wanting to be in the arts or wanting to be on stage. But I
Mhm.
did have one relationship where we were both on stage together, and that has like magical moments and then moments
Mhm.
of like the most terrible idea ever.
I can imagine. Yeah.
There wasn't really a sense of ego because we didn't do the same thing. I sang, she played guitar, she didn't sing. I play guitar, but not like she did, lead guitar. And it was for me, it was more magical than not. So I don't know if I prefer sharing the stage with the person I'm with and knowing we're going home together. There's something really special to that. And
Mhm.
then again, if you go in different directions, which is what happened to us, it just is pretty much the demise. And was probably the worst heartbreak I ever felt in my life, because I felt I'm never going to meet another person that does this with me, because most
Mm,
everyone was not a person that wanted to be in the arts, be on stage, be a musician, that I met. So for me,
yeah.
it was a really tough breakup, and I'm like, you know what? I think maybe it's better if they have their own interests, if it's a couple situation, because most of the time, even when you see like Sonny and Cher, um, people that work together, Lucy and Desi, it doesn't in the end always end well,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
it's like because your identities become so intertwined, and it's
Yeah,
like not just your personal life, but your professional life is intertwined. Then,
yeah,
if one or the other doesn't work out, then basically the
exactly.
entire life is up in shambles. I think
Right.
like it's good for any relationship, I think, to have some sort of sense of autonomy where there's something that's just yours, and
Exactly.
you don't have to give
Exactly.
your entire self up, for the relationship. And I think also because we've been together for so long. I mean, we met when we were in our 20s, so we've grown up over the past 20 or so years together, and there were times where we were more enmeshed and times where we kind of like had our own things going on, but then we would like come back. Um and I think that the healthiest times, and what we've learned is that it's so important to have something that you feel completely independent in, so that there's not
Yeah,
that codependence with every little aspect of your life, which is really hard for lesbians.
it
I
is.
mean,
That's a beautiful and rare uh thing for even for any gay, straight, or otherwise, that you guys have been together so long. How many years are you together?
22.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, because relationships don't last that long anymore, and no matter
Yeah.
who's in the relationship. And the only thing is that it's great because it's like you grew up together, like you said, and you got to understand what your each of your interests were, and she probably got to see that what you do probably consumes a lot of your time from being
Mhm.
like being away from her or being away from the home, which
Yeah.
sometimes people that are performing in the arts or working in performing arts, they don't always get that the partner understands that they're why are you in the studio again? Why are you rehearsing again?
Right.
You're not home
Right.
again. Sometimes that 2 hours on stage, like for me, for a concert, for a show, it's hours of rehearsals and
Oh,
organizing
yeah.
auditions and getting the people to play with you. And,
Yeah.
at my level of the business, getting your posters made and getting because I don't have like a team. I always say I'm my people, right? I'll have my people,
Right.
your people. Wait, I'm my people. So
Yeah.
uh, it's just it's like constant because you wear so
Yeah.
many hats. I mean, you probably wear a lot of hats too, and in your
Yeah.
and business. So it's just an interesting dynamic when it works so well. That's a real
Mhm.
blessing when you meet someone that you can match
Yeah.
and have that relationship and a
Yeah.
family.
And it's a learning curve, it's something that you kind of figure out together because it wasn't always easy, and there's definitely been times where we have to navigate um opportunities and figure out what's best for the individual, but then you have a kid too, and then it's like, okay,
Yeah,
now what's best for everybody and what's going to be best for the family, and priorities change over the years, and you think you really want something, and then that changes to something else, and I think there have been times, like in the beginning, it was really hard to be apart, right? Because you're just so in love, and you've got that new sort of um, adrenaline that you know keeps everything so exciting, and so
yeah,
it's hard to be apart. And then after years, you realize, oh, she's going to be there when I come back.
right,
Like
right.
it's
Yeah,
not like that. There's more security in knowing that, okay, even if this this isn't the best scenario, I trust that we're going to be okay. You
right,
know,
right.
and
Exactly.
at this point now, it's like, oh, you have to go somewhere to do something. Bye.
Right? Oh,
Like,
heck,
oh, I get the house to myself. Woo.
right? I think I'll do the mani-pedi or take an extra long bath or watch
Exactly.
my show that she hates that I like. Yeah, that's
Right.
true. That's really true. That's
Yeah.
very true. So, what can we expect coming next at the Arts Garage from you? What's coming up that we could be
Um,
excited about?
so in February, we have a show from this amazing theater company in New York. They they're like an indie theater company. They do off Broadway stuff. They're called the Anthropologists, and it's all um, women who devise theater based on real events and like historical facts,
Oh,
uh, and so they have really interesting shows. And this particular show that they're bringing is about the African American midwives back in the day that would care for um, the white children, and also kind of it travels throughout history to more present time with all the struggles that African American women have in the healthcare system, and
interesting.
how there's just so much going on with their health that is different than what white women are experiencing in the healthcare system. So it's a really cool, interesting concept, and they're doing their show, but before the show they're opening up their rehearsal and inviting people to come and experience the
Oh,
rehearsal
that's
and
that's
answer questions. And yeah, it's going to be like an open sort of rehearsal talk back situation, and then they're going to do the show that night. And then let's see, then the next thing after that, that's the last show of this season. And then we go into the next season, the 2025-26 season. And we've got a couple of shows in the works, but really the main focus that I have right now is trying to build this black box series that I told you about in
Yes. Yeah.
the residency program, the theater in residence program. So we're hoping to have something really cool to offer soon.
Exciting. That's
Yeah.
exciting. I've never really seen
Yeah.
anything in that room. Like I've never really
Yeah,
been.
I mean, we haven't done anything in here in a long time. It's mostly used, for the summer camp and the classes and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So it'll be really interesting to bring it to, fill this room with that kind of energy and that creative energy with a company. We'll probably be working with another theater company.
That
So
that is so cool. Are you going to do
yeah.
the summer camp with the kids again?
We are, yep. It's going to be slightly different than it has been. We have a new sort of setup this summer, but yeah, it's going to be our. I want to say it's our 5th summer
Oh wow.
or
I
6th summer,
I
something
think
like
I
that.
spoke to you about my nephew and about getting him into the program. So, what are the
Mhm.
ages for the children for the summer camp?
It's like 8 and up. So we
Eight.
have programs that go up to the teens.
That's
Yep.
interesting. Is your son involved in that? Does he do the
He,
video?
he Yeah, he will do, anything that is not performing.
And we need those people because not
It's
everybody can be
true.
on stage. We need the people that want to do the technical work
Yeah,
as well. So that's
and it's
that's great.
interesting too because he actually, he does like to play music. He has an interest in it. He just doesn't wanna perform in front of anyone.
I get that. I totally get
Yeah.
I hear that a lot. I do hear that a lot. So, that's great that he can still be in the business and be in the scene and have
Mhm.
something else he's excited about doing. Because his mom is doing that, is working in the theater and getting him involved. Because that's
Yeah.
the best way, like, when you have a parent that's doing it and
Yeah.
putting him in, that's the safest, probably best way to get that experience and exposure. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and it's fun, and I like to see him reacting to all the different types of shows that we have here, and some of it is, um, you know, kind of goes over his head, but some of the stuff I think is a real learning experience for him, to
That's
see all
great.
the types of different shows that come here. I think it's just exposing his mind to that sort of artistic world that a lot of kids don't really get to see. I mean, they see a lot of Disney sort of stuff, but this is not Disney.
And I can't think of anywhere better in South Florida than the Arts Garage to get that
Yeah.
because, like I said, it's such a unique venue.
Mhm.
There's really not another one like that around. So that's
Yeah,
really, really cool. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
you're
Uh,
so welcome. It was fun.
so it took us a little while with the holidays to
Yeah.
arrange this, and I was so excited that we were bringing you on for our first show. Denise is traveling. That's why she wasn't here for this show. She's going back to the UK. We are really appreciative that you gave of your time and your talent today. Thank you for being with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I will see you at the Arts Garage at the next show.
I'll send you the
Very-
info. It's February 23rd.
I will be there February 23rd.
Okay.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much. Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Anytime.
Thanks. Take care.
We're